Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat. Uh,
No beat for
let's try.
you.
Let's try it again. Give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
So just to let everyone in, like pulling the curtain back over there, I'm the DJ on the show, and I've just been fired as the DJ. I hit the theme song, and it just didn't play. And I don't know if you guys saw the panic in my face, but I think I pulled it off rather nicely, right?
I'm giving
Totally
you
gave
a
off.
bonus. You get a bonus. This is what makes us human. You are on this journey with us. You are going to continue to see our mistakes. That was just a preemptive base running blunder, and we caught it again. We're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
Okay, so she is Amy Cuevas, and I'm Juan Ramirez, and you are watching, listening to Baseball Shangri-La. So we start off every show with a segment we call base running blunders, and that's where we catch our mistakes. So, as nice as you are, Amy, I'm going to give myself a base running blunder on that. The DJ really messed that up, and I was not prepared, and hopefully I have not ruined the show. There was a previous base running blunder on the last episode. I got picked off, so technically I think that counts as a base running blunder, wherein I refer to the Dodgers as winning the World Series in 2021 instead of 2020.
Wishful thinking. Hey, we'll just revisionist history. Everybody's doing it these days.
Why not, right? Just go ahead and keep gaslighting me. So a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and let's get right into it. Amy, I know you've seen this, but it seems like people are losing their mind about the new jersey. The new Nike jersey that Fanatics is the one that's producing it. Like, I know we talked about this on one of our previous episodes, and you were just like, what are you gonna do? There's nothing you can do about it, right? Because you're a realist and you just don't let things that you can't control affect you. But in since we last talked about it, we saw this crazy video where Jason Hayward was talking about how great it was, and then Mike Trout came out and said how great these jerseys were. But now I know the Athletic just recently wrote a story where all these players are complaining about these new jerseys.
It's yeah. One of the direct quotes was, "So far, thumbs down." So, not having had this information before, I mean, I still there's going to be tons of things on this show that we talk about that we will both have different takes on. For me, this still kind of falls under like I can't fix it. What are we going to do? But now knowing that the players are upset about it, that does add a wrinkle. The article, if you got to see it in the Athletic, did mention that the MLB Players Association is actually getting involved now to kind of field the concerns from the players, because some of the players are concerned about the quality of it. Like the attention to detail, some of the unique features to the teams, even just the colors and the stitching are different. Aside from everything else that we already knew, right? The lowering of the name, the smaller letters, the way that it buttons up. So it'll be interesting to see how this continues to move forward. I guess my opinion is if there are so many problems with it, they need to definitely be cheaper than what they are instead of the price going up. But I think some of the other players also mentioned that they were upset because they have fewer tailored options. So for some of those pitchers, the pants that they wear, it's kind of like a one size fits all, which women, men, we've been dealing with this with our own clothes for forever, right? It's not really a one size fits all. Like those pants are going to fit me the same way that they're going to fit my best friend, and we're both the same size. Like, so that for as much as they're paying for this stuff, you'd think that they would still get to keep those tailored options. So that is somewhat concerning. What are you thinking about over there, Juan?
What I'm concerned about is from what you're telling me here, it sounds like Walker Bueller and Kike Hernandez are not going to be able to wear yoga pants when they play. Is that what you're talking about? The tailored option that they're not going to be able to do the tight fit?
Yeah, I think it was Tommy Canley also mentioned this, where he was like doing the stretch test, and it's not necessarily up to snuff for some of these guys. So I mean, I don't know what Walker's going to do. He hasn't played in the last year and a half, so this might be another shock to the system for him.
Well, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, already came out, and we're going to talk about good old Mr. Manfred later on in this episode. But he came out and he addressed this because this is now becoming a story here, and this is a direct quote. So what he said is, yes, the jerseys are different. They're designed to be performance wear. They have been tested more extensively than any jersey in any sport. After people wear them a little bit, they're going to be really popular. Okay. So I think that's the wrong guy to be delivering the message. Like, nobody trusts anything that comes out of his mouth, anyways. Now, Amy, has Major League Baseball just totally mishandled this situation and now made something that should be a non-issue now a bigger issue? Because, like I said, just a few episodes, you and I were just like, whatever, live with it. It's no big deal. But now it seems, I think what's really been concerning to me is when you see the Jason Hayward video, all I saw was a bunch of people saying, how much did he get paid to make that video? Was someone holding a gun to him to say these are the things that you have to say? Like, nobody thought that video was genuine. Did you think it was genuine?
I mean, people have pointed out that he does have, I don't know if he has a contract with them, but he does wear a lot of Nike gear, so there's a correlation with some of the players that were speaking in favor of it. A lot of people keep kicking back to, well, the All-Star game jerseys from 2023 when they played in Seattle were this quality. Yeah, but nobody really likes the All-Star game jerseys. So, for one game, you deal with it. One game, home run derby, whatever. But like if you're changing this, I'm just curious, like when they make changes like this, is it necessary to run it by the Players Association? Like maybe that could have headed off some of this. But like just pointing out that, well, you guys wore them for the All-Star game, that doesn't really merit an argument for me because I think the majority of us don't even really like those jerseys as it is.
That's an excellent point there on the All-Star jerseys. But one of the things that I think is really funny here is it seems like Major League Baseball either didn't do their research or their partner Nike is the one that fucked up here. Because it seems like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, but it seems like Nike outsourced this to Fanatics. And people have already complained about the quality of work with Fanatics in terms of like if you buy shirts from them or even the replica jerseys. That's what I kept hearing was everybody, it's like, oh, these feel like replica jerseys and the players should be wearing something different. Um, I mean, who's to blame here? Is this on Major League Baseball or is this on Nike, Amy?
Well, I mean, if there's a contract in place, I think I read somewhere that they had like the contract for like 10 years. I mean, you'd think that a change this big would have to have gone through somebody. So did they just make this change unilaterally? Like, all right, this is what we're doing. We have the contract. It doesn't matter. Or did someone in the MLB sign off and like, it looks good enough. Like, do what you're gonna do. You guys have the contract. From what I read, it sounded like other jersey brands tend to do this too. It's Nike owns the naming conventions and the logos and whatnot on the jersey, but they might outsource to somebody else to actually make them. So that in and itself doesn't sound like it's very uncommon, but Nike did decline to comment on the article that I was looking at in the Athletic. So we don't actually have their side of it. I'm trying to see who wrote the article. It was Stephen Nesbitt who put that out. If you guys want to check out that article. Oh, you're muted.
Damn you. Why do you got to call me out on that? The audio people don't know that.
Oh, I mean, nothing. La, la, la.
Guys, I just want to let you guys know Amy's the veteran on the show. I'm the one that's the rookie. I'm the rookie making all these mistakes. But the article that Stephen Nesbitt, there is a passage that I want to read to you guys, and that is at his locker, Angels reliever Carlos Estevez was in a tizzy over the new threads. He pulled out a couple of tops and pairs of pants to show that the shades didn't match. He laughed at the spacing and the shrunken nature of lettering on the back of the jersey, and he bemoaned the fact that he can't customize his pants to his preference the way pitchers once could, tailoring the fit to their big dumpers and tree trunk thighs. I just wanted to read that because I wanted to say big dumpers on the show. But I think I can't wait because I don't think they can do anything about this. Like, do you think Nike is going to then all of a sudden find someone else to manufacture these jerseys, spend more money, and then get them out? Or do you think there's still a possibility that maybe they can wear the old jerseys? Because a lot of the Dodger players at Dodger Fest were wearing last year's Dodger jersey.
What about the 14 new players or anybody who gets called up? You're gonna have disjointed, like, your jerseys on the field? Like, some people have big letters, some people have little letters. Like, I don't think anything's gonna change unless somebody holds them accountable. I don't know if they can, if contractually they're, they can just do what they want. But, I mean, unless maybe the MLB Players Association has a little bit more sway now that the players are actively upset with this. But like you said, what are they going to do? Pull the jerseys? They've actually gone up. I think the article said like 40 or $50. Like, to me, that's if you're going to offer like thinner quality, not as great, everybody's upset. You might want to at least keep the price the same, or I don't know, maybe make them cheaper.
So basically, Amy, what we're going to have is they're going to be wearing these jerseys this whole year.
Yeah.
So
Which
we're
goes
going to
back to the earlier argument from the other episode of like, we can't do anything about it. This sucks. Nobody's
wow,
happy.
you always got to be right, don't you, Amy? You always got to bring it. It's all about you being. Yes, you're right, Amy. You're always right. There, are you
I'm
happy? I
sorry, I
said it.
didn't wait, what? One more time.
You're right, Amy. There's nothing we can do.
But no, but it does still merit the emotion behind it. Players are upset about this. Like, I'd be mad if I have to go out and play and we know how traditional these guys are. If my pants aren't fitting right or that's calling my attention because I've got like a tug just the way that it's sitting, is that going to throw me off my game? Like, that's not something that they need when they're going out there to perform at the highest level in the sport.
I'm waiting after that athletic story broke. I'm waiting to see who's going to ask Jason Hayward. All right, we're going to give you another chance. How do you really feel about? Is he going to double down and say, "Hey, these are great," or is Mike Trout going to double down and go, "I don't know what anybody's talking about. Like these are great." I
Do you
just
just
did
pull
not.
the Homer Simpson and then you just kind of fade back into the bushes? Like, doo doo doo.
I did not see this coming. So basically, what's going to happen is once we get the first spring training games, and we're already seeing it now, but once we get the first spring training games, everyone's going to be bitching about these jerseys. The first month of Major League Baseball, fans are going to be bitching and moaning about these jerseys. Pretty much, we're going to hear this argument all year long, aren't we, Amy? Like, they are not going to let this go.
No, but then again, like, to my point of like, what can we really do about it? But then, the other side of that is, well, we bitch about it so that they know that we're unhappy. Like, maybe that is what people need to continue doing, is letting Nike know, letting MLB know, hey, you know what? I don't like these jerseys from the player perspective. It's a distraction. We don't need it from the people who are buying them. This is my money. This is how I'm spending it. I want a quality product.
That's, I think, what it's not going to be people bitching about it. It's the fact if nobody if they lose a lot of money on this, that's what they're going to pay attention to. That's what they're going to listen to. Now, for me, all the Otani orders have already been placed, so they've
Mhm.
already made. I forgot what the
I was just
figure
gonna
was.
say it's a fine line there because you've already got an influx of orders.
Yeah, you already got an influx of orders. So what are you going to do about it? But in your response to like, bitching makes a difference. I was like, I don't know about you, but I loved when they did the players weekend when they got to wear the little league outfit uniforms.
That's on my list.
I, I I I don't know why they got rid of that. I kept bitching and moaning all the time, going, I thought I had heard only positive things about that. Did you hear any negative things about Players Weekend?
No, that was one of my favorite things. Like, I love that the guys either got to pick their own name or they'd have their teammates pick it for them. The jerseys were actually nice compared to like the All-Star game jerseys the last couple of years have just been. I'd rather see my guys in their own jersey for their own team on the field than what they've been wearing the last couple of years. And then Players Weekend, those were just fun. Like, those are jerseys I would buy. But
Yeah.
here we are.
And again, we're going to revisit this when we talk about Manfred, but again, something that was good, that worked, that people actually liked, and Major League Baseball got rid of it. So I don't
Oh,
know,
did
but
you
that
want to
just
have fun? We're not doing that today.
well, I think this is a perfect segue to now. It was announced that the Dodgers are going to get new City Connect jerseys. So, Amy, I have to ask you this because I think right now they are the only Major League Baseball team that is now on their second City Connect jersey. Is this a money grab or is this the Dodgers admitting we blew it on the first one? It was pretty boring. We really didn't put much thought into it because, again, we're going to get into what are some of your favorite City Connect jerseys, but I love what the Miami Marlins did with theirs because it was a reference to a Cuban baseball team, right? So I know some people like the White Sox one. I know some people even like the Angels one. Um, yeah, there are some I think that missed. I think the Giants one is hideous, and I'm not saying that just because it's a Giants jersey. I just think it's like, what did you guys even try? But answer my question. Were you a fan of the original City Connect for the Dodgers?
I mean, I didn't feel like it changed much for the jersey itself. I did like that they at least threw in the Dodgers. I'm gonna say it like Doyers, like they put that on there. That was my wishful thinking. But
Yeah,
like,
I wish they would have gone Doyers too.
if they had gone Los Doyers, like out of the park. But I mean, but what do you really go with though? Like, how do you vamp it up? How do you I mean, we're such a team steeped in historical tradition. Like, do you go with the colors that like the Padres pulled off? Like we just time traveled back to the 90s or like what do we do for the Dodgers? Like I
Well, I mean, it's in the true spirit, right, of the city. So I think you have to go with something that represents Los Angeles. And so that's the question is what represents Los Angeles? Like there's so many different parts of Los Angeles, right? Like you can hang out in East LA and then you go to the West Side and you may feel like you're in a completely different state or in a different country, you know? So it's what are they have a chance here to do have a do-over and actually maybe do something creative.
like
I don't
incorporate more of a melting pot kind of
maybe.
mentality.
I
'Cause
I
you don't
know
wanna
I
leave anybody out either. Like you don't wanna.
well, but see, I think that's what when you do that, you're playing it safe and you end up with the Los Dodgers, right? Which everybody's like, "Well, what did you do? It's just the Dodgers." But then there's that argument that I hear from a lot of people that the Dodgers uniform already is perfect. You don't need an alternative. Like this is just a money grab. This is just a way for you to sell more stuff. But I do like the concept of a city jersey, something that identifies. I don't did you see I know someone was using AI and was posting out like what an in and out Dodgers jersey would
I
look like and
I
some
wanna say
other
it was Doyers Dave on Twitter, but I'm not 100% sure. It might have been him. I don't know if he was the original one who generated it, but there was, like, a Hollywood one. There was
Mhm.
more of, like, I think, like a Chinatown or maybe a Japanese theme. I don't know if they were going
It
more
was
Otani or if they
Japanese.
were
It
going,
was
like,
Japanese.
actual LA. And then you had In and Out, and I think there was more of a Latino, like, maybe Chicano flair to another one. And
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that one because it looked like the Dodgers giveaway one that they give on Mexican Heritage Night.
which again
Uh,
goes back to not trying very hard. So if we were to go that way.
absolutely. I mean, I don't know, but I do hope that maybe they think outside of the box. And I know we're going to talk about this in a future episode. But it would be interesting if they do decide with Otani and Yamamoto, if they want to identify more so with the Asian population in Los Angeles. I don't know what they're going to do, but I just hope that they do go a little outside of the box, maybe take a risk, because as we all know, if it's hideous, if it doesn't work, then just go back to wearing your classic uniform, which is still one of the best uniforms in all of Major League Baseball.
But then at that point, isn't it a flop? Isn't the point for them to kind of make money? Like, yes, it's great that we get a city jersey, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's for them to sell them. So if it's hideous, I'm not going to spend my hard-earned dollars on that.
Look, it's already a bad year for jerseys, Amy. So why don't you
Yeah.
just continue?
What did Dave Roberts say from the last episode? Make it greater.
Yeah, there you go. So not only that, okay, so there it's been announced that the Dodgers are going to have new City Connect jerseys, but then they also put a patch, this dreaded patch that everybody is up in arms about, which I just don't get. So everybody was like, "Well, who are they going to use?" Like people were like, "Oh, an in and out patch," or you know. So, but they ended up using a Guggenheim patch, right? And I think it's fine. I don't see any problem with it. Are you as upset as the traditionalists who just don't even want the patch on the uniform at all?
I mean, ideally, yeah, I don't want the patch at all. But if that's the alternative, like you put a patch on the jersey, or we end up with a stadium with another name, put the patch on the jersey. I don't like we've heard it kicked around for years. They've been kind of talking to people who might sponsor renaming the stadium. If you need the money grab in one place, put it on the jersey. I think it was the basketball movie in the early like maybe mid to late 90s where they did the parody of different stadiums named after like personal hygiene products. I don't want to get to that point. I love that our stadium is called Dodger Stadium. I don't want to have to get sponsorship that way. If we do sponsorship on the jersey, I'm okay with that.
One of the reasons why I love working with Amy is because she's a movie nerd. And what I love her is that she embraces like bad movies. Like she loves horrible movies. Like,
Like
she's a big like Hook. She's a big
Boomerang.
She is a big fan of Jaws 3D. She will defend it. And now she has a basketball reference. So I know
Love
there's
that
going to be
movie.
some listeners and viewers that are going to love you even more, Amy, for your love of bad movies. Don't ever change, Amy. Embrace it. And I can't wait. What other future bad movies you're going to mention on this show?
So many. Just don't hold your breath. It'll come up sooner or later.
Yeah, I like when people have problems with I mean, the Guggenheim symbol, it's just like a G. I just I'm old enough to remember when the Dodgers would put like 50th anniversary of Dodger Stadium patches on, and like my Valenzuela throwback jersey has a patch on the side that I think it's from the United Way or something like that. That doesn't bother me at all. I just don't understand why everybody it just feels like faux outrage, Amy. It's just like I need to be angry about something, therefore tell me what I can be angry about.
I would be more concerned about the players, like how big is it? How thick is it? Is it going to impact when they swing? Is it going to impact when they throw or whatever? If there's no actual like change other than this is just another patch that we're wearing this year, I mean, I guess if I have the choice, I'd rather fight the battle against the actual jerseys than the patch that's on it. So, I mean, I guess we got to choose which hill we're going to die on.
I guess I have an easier time with this because I'm a football fan. And in football, they change their jerseys every year. So it's nothing new. I see this all the time. They got the sponsor going across their jersey and every year and it's perfect timing because I don't know if anybody saw this earlier today, but LAFC announced their new kit for this upseason. So for those of you who aren't footballers, a kit is referred to a jersey, right? So they have a new jersey and they had a different look. Will Ferrell, they did this great video with Will Ferrell announcing the new jersey. So you can see it has pinstripes on it, and there's certain touches on the jersey for LAFC. Vamos LAFC, black and gold. That it is just there are references to the team, and part of it is also references to the city. So if I was the Dodgers, I would probably contact the LAFC people because the LAFC people I feel know how to market. They know how to fill that stadium. They know how to build a fan base. And I think the Dodgers should definitely call LAFC and be like, hey, so help us out with this City Connect jersey. But I guess that's why I just feel like it's faux outrage where it doesn't matter. And I guess maybe it's just also because football is just completely obvious with their capitalism attempt. They don't try to hide it. That the reason why we have a new jersey every year is because we want you to buy a new jersey. We want to, and so
And
it,
baseball is steeped in tradition. Like any of us, like, well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but like, the sport itself, when changes are made, people will grumble. Like, there are traditionalists, there are some people who embrace the new stuff, but baseball has that historical tradition, I guess, that we hold on to. So like, yeah, teams have their jerseys. Like, wait, what, you the pinstripes are this far apart when they used to be this far apart? Like, people like their stuff to stay the same.
and look, there have been some great uniforms in the history of Major League Baseball that they got rid of that I don't agree. Why did they get rid of? Like, to me, the Astros' best uniform was the sherbet, and I wish they would just go back to that. I've upset Amy because I've mentioned the Astros, but I think that sherbet uniform that they had was great. I thought the Montreal Expos uniform, the one from the '80s, the powder blue and the white, I thought that was a great uniform. But look, we've had teams like the Phillies used to wear the powder blues, and then they went away from it, and they keep changing their uniforms, and now they're going back to it again. Like, these are all just attempts to sell more jerseys, and I don't have a problem with it. I like it because some of those old school jerseys I would like. The problem is if you're a Yankees fan or you're a Dodgers fan, your uniform is already perfect. So
Pretty
there is
much.
no need to change it. So you're not going to go through what other teams. I mean, how many uniforms have the show pods had? Like, I feel like as soon as I was a kid and I started following baseball, the show pods have always had like a new uniform. Like, when they went to the blue, I was like, what are you guys doing going to the blue? Your colors are brown and yellow or orange or whatever, depending. I don't get it.
And that's not to say that things shouldn't change. I apparently you can't shock the system too much, is what we're learning. So, for me, I like I said, I try to put it into perspective. If this is we need to have a sponsorship somewhere, like, I would rather have it on a sleeve than people start looking elsewhere, because again, that's me being adverse to change. Don't change anything bigger. If you're just going to change the jersey, I can handle that.
Yeah, I have no problem with the Guggenheim patch, and I agree with you. Put it on the sleeve, and it would be very weird if they sold the naming rights to Dodger Stadium. To have anything else, reference it would be awkward. But I get it. There'll be more faux outrage, but at the bottom line, isn't the most important thing like the baseball that is being played. Like, I remember when people got mad. Remember when they started putting the signage on the outfield wall? Like, people were like, what the hell? I was like, bro, that goes back to like the 1930s and the 40s. Go back and watch the newsreels. They had signage up on the walls.
Yeah. I think as the season goes on, there's going to be more things for people to get mad at. I think we've just got to pick and choose our battles. But I mean, you've already alluded to it once. I don't know if people will consider it a win. Maybe it's just times are changing, but Manfred is stepping down. He announced that in January of 2029, he will not be, when his term ends, he's done. So he mentioned he's 65 now. He'll be 70 then. And I think, what was his quote? He said, "You can only have so much fun in one lifetime," which, considering what his legacy will be, that's a loaded quote.
Do you think he has fun? I know this is a perfect setup for your favorite quote, because I'm sure if you talk to Manfred, what would be the first question you would ask him, Amy?
I'd have so many questions around the Houston World Series. Like, that
Oh, see,
that's where my brain.
I totally thought your first question would be like, do you even like baseball, bro?
No, because I have bigger questions around that pennant, but that would be up there. But I think Joe
What is
Kill.
his?
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, 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 go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, what is his legacy for you? Like, how? I mean, obviously, it's gonna be the Astros. He is defined then is it like the same thing with Bud Selig, where I think Bud Selig is probably defined maybe by the Pete Rose thing, or is it more because there was a tie in the All-Star game? And no, I'm sorry, I'm ducking the obvious. Bud Selig is going to be remembered for the steroid era. Like that
Well,
happened
and
under
that's
his
more
watch.
and that's more your realm. I think for me it probably will
Are
be
you
the
calling me
Astros.
old? Are you calling me old? How
No,
rude.
no, I'm giving you your
Why
flowers
don't you go
because
hang out with
you have
Rufio?
more baseball knowledge, bang than I do. I'm still building mine. Um what I was going to say was the Houston thing is definitely going to be something people remember, also because he called the World Series trophy a piece of metal. This is like the ultimate thing that everybody is working for every year, and to refer to it with such disrespect, like, to me that's just it. I'm sure he's done some amazing things. If you read Joe Kelly's book, I can't remember the title right now off the tip of my tongue. I keep saying that wrong, but he talks about how Manfred actually does have, a sense of humor and whatnot. So I would like to believe in Joe Kelly's version of him, but the piece of metal winners thing is just gonna stick in my craw for the end of time.
Look, I have been very critical of Mr. Manfred, so I want to be fair to him. But looking back in the legacy, obviously the Astros is gonna, I think, gonna be up there at the top of his biography. But I want to look at some of the things that were accomplished under his regime that actually I think were good for baseball. I think the rule changes, I think, were good for baseball. The the pitching clock, some of these things that had help expedite the pace of play. I think he can. I mean, everyone thought those rule changes last year were pretty successful. I know people bitched and moaned in the beginning. Oh, you're making another face. You're not
I
happy
wasn't I
with it.
wasn't a I wasn't a fan. I like the game time the way that it was, but I'm apparently in the minority now that we've had a whole year under our belt, but I liked it the way it was.
Well, I think there's going to be a couple more things that maybe might fall under his legacy. Like he mentioned today, having a free agency signing period. And I know that that is something that a lot of people, especially when you compare it to other sports, with the NBA, it seems like the minute you can start signing a free agency, a free agent, half the players, or if not all the players, are already signed. And I think the NFL kind of works the same way.
And the
Now,
owners are pushing for that in the MLB, because if you talk to the MLB Players Association or you read anything that they're coming from, they like having that longer period for players to actually try to get what they're worth versus being kind of strong armed into like, okay, you've got a 2-week period, now sign, and that benefits the owners more than it does the players. So you can kind of see where the tug of war is in that respect.
yeah. So, I mean, if he's able to pull that off, I think that's going to be a positive for his legacy. Before we go to the next thing that I think is going to play a big role in his legacy, I do just want to mention the fact that his job, he works for the owners. And I have always sided for the players. So I don't know if there's ever going to be a decision that I truly agree with Manfred. And I don't think there's ever going to be a point where I can say that was a great baseball commissioner, because we can't lose sight of the fact that he works for the owners. So he's trying, in my opinion, to get the best deal for the owners. So if you ask me who was a great owner in Major League, great commissioner in Major League Baseball, I can't name you one, because I've always had issues because, again, I think it's unfair. They side with the owners. I think the reason why that we've had strikes in Major League Baseball is because we haven't had an impartial commissioner, because his salary is paid by the owners. So I
100%.
I
There's
don't
a
know if
book.
we can ever have it independent, truly independent.
And there's a book, I'm still making my way through it because it's pretty thick, but it's called Lords of the Realm, and it talks about the inception of like the commissioner's position and how, how the owners evolved through baseball and how we got where we were, and basically like player strikes and the creation of the players association. It's a really interesting book, but it has definitely tainted my view on how closely the commissioner and the owners work together, and why we need to have that bargaining at any given point to make sure that the players can be advocated for.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about with Manfred is he talked about expansion, and he wants at least 32 teams by the time he's done in 2029. Amy, you're shaking your head. Let's just go to you right now. I have my thoughts on this, but I feel like I might have triggered you with that.
You did. I'm like, we're already struggling to figure out how we even play this postseason with the expanded wild card. And at this point, you have the arguments that why does the regular season even matter at this point? Because we have so many teams that are involved in getting into the postseason. Why even play well? Because if I can get in on a wild card, and now you want to expand it by two more teams, I we don't even have teams right now that are actively like putting all their effort in. Like that's where we're talking about like the CBT and the competitive balance tax. Like we have teams that are paying into this, and we know that we have teams that are drawing on it but not actively doing anything. So I think to expand to two more teams before you're actually holding some of the other ones in the league accountable, I think that's premature, and I think we need to start holding some of those other teams accountable before you start to try to make more money in other ways.
I'm just in the interest of full disclosure, I'm going to say this first. I think we already have too many teams in Major League Baseball. So the idea of adding two more teams, I don't know how that's going to make the product better, and I also don't know how that's going to work because right now you have 15 in each league. So if we add two more teams, are we going to add one to the National League? Are we going to add one to the American League? And if we do that, does that mean we're going to do something like with the NFL, where instead of having three divisions, we're going to have four divisions with four teams in each division? So now that means, are we going to have relocation? Right? Does that mean we're going to add more teams to the playoffs? Because are we going to have four division winners and maybe only two wild cards? Like it's going to be more change again. And to be fair, I think there's been a lot of changes to Major League Baseball recently. I feel like, at least when I was a kid, we went through very long periods where there weren't any changes with Major League Baseball. And I maybe this is all in attempt to try to get a younger fan base. But there was something that I just saw today about, I had always heard that one of the teams that is vying for an expansion team is Nashville. And so Tennessee, so that would be a team on the East Coast. So normally, are you going to add a team on the East Coast, and then are you going to add a team on the West Coast? And I just saw earlier today that the leaders behind Salt Lake City's bid for a Major League Baseball team have unveiled renderings of what they call the Power District with a new Major League Baseball ballpark, and it could begin construction later this year. Now, there was
So
minor
send the A's over there at this point because they don't even have a home right now. We don't need to
and that's
expand.
but that's the other thing, Amy. So instead of expanding, why not relocate already existing teams maybe to those markets? Like you have a situation in Tampa Bay where you have a good baseball team that is competitive, but you just don't have people that can support that because look, I went to that stadium last year and it looked like it was a stadium inside of a warehouse. It was not, and I know they have literal Tampa Bay. I mean, they have stingrays out in the outfield and in an aquarium and all that stuff, but there is just nothing appealing towards that stadium. So if you're having attendance issues, maybe okay, let's move the Rays. Let's move them somewhere else. I know there's talk about Montreal. As
They can
much
go
as
to
I would
Nashville. Boom, problem solved. Look at us.
Right. And so if the I know we're starting to hear problems now with, and I don't know if this is true or not, but again, it's narratives with the Vegas deal. It's like, well, if the A's don't move to Vegas, do they end up, could you move them to Utah? But again, it's just going to open up all these can of worms. Like I've said, I am not a fan of expansion. I think we already have too many teams in Major League Baseball. Just focus on relocating the ones that you already have, and trying to, because isn't that what your job is as a commissioner, is to make the sport succeed?
And especially in those markets where, like, let's say they are collecting the CBT, like they're getting money from that pool, but they're actively not building up the teams. Like I heard somebody say this week, "Oh, Yasmani Grandal might be signing with the Pirates." How sad that he's going there, but it's like how sad that that team isn't putting money into their players and into their product so that not only the team can do well, but I'm sure those fans want to be able to like, again, going back to how spoiled we are, we have a team with a front office that puts money back into it. These other teams, like if you're a fan because you're regional, like that can't be fun. Like, well, I'm a fan because that's how I grew up, or my dad or my mom were fans. But like, look at our team. Like they have games on TV and like nobody's there. So shouldn't we be focusing on fixing those issues first before adding more people to the pool and still having the same problems? What is it? Your weakest link? Like we need to fix those first.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is one of those things where is this just being done because maybe other owners want it done? Like these are the kind of things where, is he going to push these things through, and will his legacy, I don't know, maybe I'm reading way too much into this. Is this him trying to save his legacy? Because in the end, Amy, to bring this full circle, I just think he's going to be remembered as the guy who refused to punish the Astros, and not only refused to punish the Astros, but gave immunity to players to be able to say everything. And yet still there were no repercussions about it.
I don't think we have enough time for me to pull out my soapbox right now, so I'm going to try to remain calm and moderate my voice because that is a whole show in and of itself. But I think you're right. That is going to be his legacy, at least for me. I'd be curious to find out what our listeners think too. Just like what do you guys think? What is Manfred's legacy as he steps down in the next 5 years and hopefully doesn't do too much damage, before he leaves to this league, so that we can at least retain some of this sport that we love so much.
And if any of these things that we've talked about, if he establishes a free agent signing period, if he does expand teams, does any of this change his legacy? Or it doesn't matter what this guy does. The Astros thing was pretty egregious, and there's no redemption. There's no coming back from that.
I don't think there is, but I think in doing stuff like this, I think it does potentially harm the game because he does have the power to do that. And both of the changes that he's making, to your point earlier, they benefit the owners. We've already seen changes with like going into the postseason, the pauses in the games for some of those teams that have done better, what that's done to impact them. We're also seeing things like if we're expanding, like what is really the why behind it? We already have a player pool that I don't want to see where it's not expanded enough, but like there's not enough players to go around. We've heard Brandon Gomes and Andrew Friedman talk about this. So if you add two more teams, yeah, that's two more rosters. But again, where are you getting these players from?
Another contribution to his legacy, and I don't know if he would take credit for this or if this falls under C League, but the international growth of the sport. Could that be considered another positive for him? Look, I'm trying to be fair to the guy and not just dump on him, but the international growth, which is really the only opportunity for growth in Major League Baseball. Does he
Okay.
not deserve credit for that?
We can give him that. Like, I don't doubt that that job is hard to do. You are walking the tightrope between the players, the fans, the owners, and you've got a short leash, I'm sure. But I mean, sure, if you want to give him credit for that, we can.
Wow. Amy, she is the president of the Rob Manfred fan club. So go ahead and send all your mail to Amy. Amy, we're going to wrap things up here. Any last words?
Nope. Not on this topic.
Okay, so I've upset Amy, so we're going to end the show now. So again, if you've come across us on the YouTube and you're watching us, hey, subscribe to the YouTube so you can be alerted of when we drop our next episode. For those of you listening on the audio portion of this, make sure you're subscribed. You can follow us on social media at X at BB Shangri LA, on Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri LA. She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You have been listening, watching to another episode of Baseball Shangri LA. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.